Been right here in Ocala for nearly 20 years, so they know how to make your ride one of a kind. Whether you want to take that classic ride back to a factory look or put your favorite sports team front and center, Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Looking to put your money to work? Florida Credit Union has a CD special, 25 months for 1.41% APY with a $10,000 minimum. Federally insured by the NCUA, a government agency. These rates effective through September 15th, subject to change at any time. Visit one of Florida Credit Union's convenient locations today or their website, flcu.org, or call 352-237-8222. Don't miss this 25-month CD special. Again, the APY is 1.41%. Act now.
All right, it's 5 minutes after 8 o'clock. There's an 80% chance we'll see some rain today. There is a hurricane warning for Marion County, believe it or not, and it is based on this storm called Julia, Tropical Storm Julia, which is really far enough away that I think we're out of harm's way, but they are saying that an outer band could bring us heavy wind and even the possibility of a tornado, although it's moving away, and so the chances of that become less and less. It doesn't take away from the fact that there's an 80% chance of rain for today. Mm-hmm. It's just, I know it's confusing, but bottom line is just be aware of things and just take cover when you see. There was a kid got hit by lightning the other day. It was a 22-year-old guy. Oh. Sorry. All right. Hopefully Lenny hung on there. We ended the last segment, and I wanted him to be able to finish what he was saying. And Galen Unold is on from LifeSouth. And let me say good morning to Galen first. Good morning, Galen.
Hey, good morning, Larry, Robin, Lenny.
Yeah, and Lenny, because we do these in segments, I know if you're listening live, everything is all one piece, but online they become videos. So for those watching this video or listening to it, before the break, Mark had called up and he was asking me, I guess, questions about my feelings regarding the protest of the national anthem. And basically what I've said here's my summary of my own feelings, is that the folks who are doing that have a right to do it, first of all. Second of all, if you're doing that to call attention to something bigger that we need to pay attention to, then let us know what that bigger thing is. And if that bigger thing means we need to make some changes, what changes do you think we should make? Mm-hmm. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s case, and I'm not repeating myself just to do it, I wanted the listeners to the podcast because they're all separate things. In his case, he saw black people were being treated poorly, and it did not line up with what the Constitution said, that all men are created equal. And he had these amazing marches with thousands of people who agreed with him. And the country said, what's all this about? And then he made these amazing speeches. And then the country, the reasonable people in the country anyway, said, gosh, he's right. We need to fix this. We're not treating all men as equals. We need to fix this. It was a lot of trial and tribulation and whatever you want to say there. But it was all for the better. So if you're making a statement by kneeling, that in my mind is the same as having a large march in Selma. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're all paying attention to it. Now follow that with an explanation of what you want changed.
Yes.
And that's where we left off, and Lenny was going to explain what we want changed.
Yep.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Lenny. All right. Now, first of all, let me thank you for, having the intestinal fortitude to listen to somebody that may not necessarily agree with your narrative. As you misstated a couple of times the other day that these guys had not made their concerns and given explanations as to what they want. They have. It's just that many times people who are so opposed to these people don't take the time to they'll go out and they'll say these things, and they don't realize that there are programs out there that they have been on. And I said it was 3, actually it was 4. It was MSNBC, it was CNN, C-SPAN, and ESPN. So what the thing is, Larry, while you certainly have the right to oppose what they do, you don't have the right to tell them how to do it no more than they have the right to tell you how to oppose.
I don't think I'm doing that.
Now,
Lenny.
let me tell you what one of the things that they were really concerned with, and I've been a victim of this, so I know. I've had a brother that was a police officer, so I've been on both sides, and I've also been mistreated by police officers. But I had an opportunity to do something about it, which I had people in the city of Ocala appoint me to a Blue Ribbon Task Force, which I was set on for. But we won't go on that. So I've had an intricate dealings with this from both an inside and an outside explanation. Now, what they basically want is, number one, when you have officers, and 90% at least of all police officers are good, but it's the 10% that really have problems. They want to make sure that when somebody goes out and shoots somebody illegally or kill somebody or do like what these officers did in Ocala, that they pay for it. And not all of them did, and one of them got off. But what they want is, they don't want, for instance, there was an officer, the guy that killed the guy with the chokehold, which was illegal, and you said laws, yeah, they're looking at getting laws passed to prevent this stuff. The guy that killed the guy, for instance, in New York, you know what that guy's doing now? He's making like about $100,000 and something. He has a desk job, and it goes on and on and on. So these young guys, they see that stuff, and they're not going to take it. And now, to suggest that what they're doing was synonymous with what people did in Selma, I think is a stretch, because I don't see that. Now, the second thing is, what they're also doing, they have a lot to lose. These guys have millions of dollars to lose. So don't take it lightly that, that they're just there to protest. Another thing that they're looking for is when officers see other officers, and they've articulated this, when officers, that silent blue code has to go. Officers can do a lot to weed out police brutality and those types of things, but they usually, just like they did here in Marion County, they won't rat on each other unless somehow somebody comes in, some good citizens with films or something like that, video, and they turn it in, which incidentally did happen here in Marion County, and it went through the process.
Right.
Now, granted, so those, I don't want to, just belittle the whole thing, but I want to end by saying this.
But don't hang up when you end. Don't hang up when you end. I wanted to talk to you.
Okay, all right. Let me say this. I'm gonna make a perfect example here in Marion County. I've worked all over this county. I won't even go through that. I mean, people that know me and know about me and all these agencies, they can tell you. I've worked in Chatmire. I've worked in Hog Valley. Now, the people in Chatmire basically had the same SES that the people in Hog Valley did. Now, the only difference in the people in Chatmire and Hog Valley, you know what the only difference is?
Color.
Is that, exactly. But if you flip the strip and put both of them in the same community, it'll be the same. Now, what the people in Hog Valley have been made to believe is that the people in Chatmire are responsible for their conditions. However, they would think that they have more in common with you than they do people in Hog Valley, which is what politicians want them to think.
Wow.
Okay, I'm finished.
I used to deliver papers to Chatmire, by the way, so
yeah,
I never had a problem with it. But and I've delivered papers.
I've been to Chatmire and Hog Valley.
I mean, when I worked for the Star-Bound, I was delivering newspapers, so I was the low man on the totem pole. But I would deliver there, and I would deliver in Hog Valley, and to be honest, it was scary both places. both places frightened me. Okay, all right, so then let me just make sure I understand what you're saying. And I'm not questioning or debating. I'm just trying to be sure I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is that, first of all, I'm wrong in that I'm assuming that nobody has made any statements about what needs to be changed.
Right.
Okay. So then I'm wrong. In your world, I'm 100% wrong.
No, you're not 100% wrong. Nobody's ever 100%
well,
wrong.
now wait a minute.
Number one,
let me finish
you're
because
you're good because you're at least listening.
Okay, but if I'm wrong, then that means they have said what they want to do. And if they have,
That's true.
And if they have said what they want to do, how is it going to be done? What should be done? Should the laws be changed?
What did they
Laws
say?
and attitudes. It's not going to be just laws.
Attitudes.
Attitudes.
What
See
you-
what Dr.
okay.
King did. He changed. He didn't. We didn't just go to change laws.
It's not
and
a stretch.
attitudes.
By the
You
way,
can change laws,
Lenny,
but you gotta change people's attitudes.
can I defend my comparison of kneeling or not standing to the marches? Because I don't think you understand why I compared the two.
No.
I understand why you did, but I think it's an incorrect comparison.
Really? Well, did we pay attention to Martin Luther King Jr. before those marches? No.
No.
Exactly.
Did we pay attention to the cause of these athletes before they started not standing? No. So that's my point. My point is that the marches and the kneeling or the not standing are bringing our attention to something that we should bring our attention to. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Okay. And all I'm saying is that in Martin Luther King Jr.'s case, the marches brought our attention to this amazing speech and series of speeches that made us all say, now, maybe you're right. Maybe the guys in Hog Valley turned a deaf ear to it. But there were a lot of people who had not turned a deaf ear to that. And by the way, if you live in Hog Valley, I didn't mean to.
No.
I didn't mean anything.
No.
But you know what I mean.
Now, there's some good people now. Don't get me wrong.
I know, and you know what I mean.
There's some good people in Hog Valley now, because I worked out there.
I know. Don't get. I don't want to get on that. All I'm saying is that if a law needs to be in Martin Luther King Jr.'s case, we needed to change some laws. We had laws in this country that were unfair to black people. You had your own water fountain. You had your own Silver Springs. You couldn't. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was not only laws; it was attitudes too. Now.
Attitudes too. Attitudes are harder to change than laws. But,
Exactly.
But attitudes.
Hey, Larry, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
There you go. Interrupted.
Lenny, what law would you change?
That's my question.
Law? Oh, it's very simple.
That's my question.
That's
Okay,
the
the
question.
first law is you got to. The other thing is there should be in all. Some of them have them, but there should be citizens advisory committees with authorities for all in
not a law.
every state, for every police. That should be mandated. That's one. There should be. I could go on and on.
Do you think
there should be also there should be thorough laws that whenever a person is convicted of committing a crime and a fellow law enforcement officer witnessed that, the process should be he should be automatically or she should be automatically gone. That does not always happen because of the unions in law enforcement. I'm not going to take up, but there's a number of laws that maybe someday, maybe I'll have lunch with you and Larry, and but I could go over a whole lot of things if you were really interested in finding out. There are a lot of things that we can do, and they're articulating.
Can you give me a case where a police officer has been filmed or videoed, doing something that's untoward to a person of any color where they haven't been convicted or at least tried?
Yes, right here in Marion County, I most certainly can. There was those officers that were caught out there in Marion Oaks. One of those officers, he lied, and he pretty well got off. Now the others, they had the information, and that's why Chris Blair is no longer the police, the sheriff here in Marion County, which thank God, that's a great thing. But he covered up for a lot of the things that they did. Now, eventually, the only reason those guys even went to trial was the Department of Justice came in here and said, hey, you guys clean this mess up or we're going to clean it up. And Brad King had the intestinal fortitude to say, hey, I don't want to go to jail, so I'm going to make sure it get cleared up and charges were brought.
Well, Lenny,
Well, there you go. So charges were brought. That's the whole point. I know that they're not standing because of social injustice, but I would like to have some concrete examples. I mean, I know Kaepernick talked about Baltimore and how somebody died and nobody went to jail. But every one of those guys, or one of those police officers, was put on trial and found innocent. Or not
You
guilty.
know what? Let me tell you something. I could go over a number. Look, I'm 64 years of age, and incidentally, when the riots and stuff were happening with Dr. King in St. Augustine, Larry, I was living there. I knew some of the people. I knew Dr.
I'm not doubting that, and I'm not questioning that. I'm only trying to say that the flag and the national anthem, which represents that flag, give everybody the freedom to do exactly what we're doing. Gives those athletes the freedom to not kneel if they want to kneel, and then that's the irony, that if they want to draw attention to something, that's their right. I'm going to continue to stand. They can continue to not stand. That's their right. I'm going to do what I think is right. They can do what they think is right. And obviously, my opinion is not going to be agreed. Everybody's not going to agree with me. But you have a right to disagree with me.
The bottom line is this: as far as what I can say about you, I can really say this about you. We may not always agree, but I say this, jokingly, there's hope, because we're that 60 type, and a lot of people in this area, and especially on talk radio, when a person like me calls, they hang up. You don't get a chance. I mean, it's like so when you do that, that shows that really there's hope. Now there's a lot of history.
I think I'm the one who's misunderstood, and I think you disagree with me more than I disagree with you. This is what I truly believe. This is what always happens to me. People disagree.
I have more history than you. See, another thing I have that you...
Yeah, because I haven't lived. What have I done?
No.
The thing is this, I have lived with white people. You've never lived with black people. You never slept and ate and lived, see, and that's something that's no fault of yours or Galen or anybody else's. But see, so that's something that you that's an experience that's a life experience.
I've lived with black people.
I'm trying to think if I have. I don't know if I've ever lived with.
I
did in Freeport.
I know.
Wait a minute, I did for a little while. Yes, I did.
Yeah,
Every roommate I've ever had before I was married was black.
Wait a minute. Yes, I did.
Galen has.
I did actually, Lenny. I lived in Freeport, New York. I didn't have much money, and I lived in this project. Yeah, so I really did about...
No, I'm talking about in the house.
2 months.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in the house growing up.
This was the same house. We all shared the same bathroom. Well, we all shared the same bathroom. Does that count? I don't know.
It's the same house. You can't.
I don't know. It's a crazy argument because it doesn't even apply. I've never slept with an Asian woman either, so maybe maybe I don't understand Asians either.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
You may not, Larry.
All right, Lenny. Let me. We've got.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
But nobody could answer your
No,
question.
I think it's a really good discussion to have. But one of the things he brought up was Eric Garner, who was the man who was choked in New York, and the officer charges were filed, but they decided that because of this poor training, which is a problem, he wasn't prosecuted. But they did settle with the family, and the family got $5.9 million. So the New York Police Department did admit to their wrongdoing. And that's the whole point, is give me an example where we have this video evidence of where a guy or a police officer did the wrong thing, broke the law, and wasn't prosecuted. You can't. You can't. That's the whole issue.
And in the piece that for some reason keeps coming up, that whatever I read the other day, I said it's attitudes that need to change. I'll be the first to admit that attitudes need to change. The laws are there, and maybe the laws are. O.J. Simpson got off.
Sure, he did.
So I don't know that it's all sided in favor of white people. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that
I do agree that there's a problem with sentencing of black men versus white men. You look at that.
Right. Right.
You can take it back to the war on drugs.
And I'm the first one to admit that.
And all of that. But at some point you have to take responsibility for your own actions. I mean, you really do. And I think that's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. I mean, this whole thing was started by Mike Brown. And here's a guy who everybody, hands up, don't shoot. Well, he never had his hands up. and he actually tried to pull the gun and actually shot at the officer 3 times.
Right.
And that officer's life has been ruined. And here's a guy who wanted to work in that city because he thought he could do some good, and now he can never be a police officer again because wherever he goes, he's going to be a target. And his family was targeted, and I think that's a shame. I think it's an absolute shame.
The blood is something we need to talk about.
We can. And one last thing, Larry.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King had truth and justice on his side, and it was evident, and it was a growing problem in this country. And a lot of people were impacted negatively because of the segregation. And that was a huge uprising across all colors, creeds, and races. And maybe that groundswell will start. And that's where the attitudes will change. But there's a right place and a right time to do it. 9/11, kneeling in front of a Marine who's holding the flag, who's been to Afghanistan to fight for your right to kneel, is not the time to kneel. Sorry. That's my opinion. I understand his right.
And that is
that
is such a powerful thing to say, and it absolutely makes the statement better than I ever could have regarding why I mentioned Sharia law in my little piece. I wasn't. Oh my gosh! I mean, if you don't defend what we have established, then guess what happens? Somebody else takes over, and then you have to live under their laws
and their flag.
And let's hope it's not something as extreme as Sharia law. I use the extreme because that is a possibility. And if you think it's not, just go anywhere in the Middle East where Sharia law is in effect and see the lady. What was that? I saw a thing the other day. A lady had her head cut off in the middle of the street because she violated some kind of a dress code or something. Can you believe it?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, come on.
For sure.
All right. Yeah, and I think people disagree with me more than I disagree with them. I don't know why. It's just like they want to call and they want to fight, and I'm trying to say what I think is the truth.
Exactly.
I'm trying to say what I think is obvious. I'm trying to guide people so that they understand better how to use the resources they have at hand, which includes freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You know.
And the argument that, well, you don't know my plight, you don't know. Of course I don't. I can't understand that, but that's no way to argue a point.
No.
I'm not a black man, and I am a person of color. I know what it's like to be, people to put you into a corner because you don't look like them. I understand that part, but I don't walk around every day as a black man, so I can't respect it. That's nothing I will ever understand. So you're going to have to come at it with a different argument than you just don't understand. And now it's my fault.
And you do understand it. We all understand it. If you moved here, if you're a Yankee living in the South, especially in the 70s, come on. I was picked on because of that stupid attitude.
Yeah.
Especially New York Yankee. My God, that's like the worst place to be from.
Exactly.
So and I know it's not exactly the same. And oh my gosh,
Canadians. I'm still pretty prejudiced.
I don't need to be a woman to know that women are mistreated. Oh, come on. I don't need to be a woman. I shouldn't need to be with one now and then, but I don't need to be with. Sorry.
I think you're right.
Just being a joke.
I think you're right.
All right.
Nobody answered the question. They gave all examples about, there were 4. Nobody answered the question about what Copernic wants because he never said. He doesn't even know.
Well, the more
he did state it. He just said social injustice and police aren't going to jail for killing black men. I get it, but that's his whole platform. That's
not a law that can be. That's not a law that can be changed. That doesn't even apply to the Constitution, which is what the flag stands for.
Exactly. People don't know.
I'm not arguing his side against him or for him. I was just telling you what he basically said.
I have very little time. I had such a great topic for you today. I was going to tell you how long you have to walk in order to burn off certain foods. I'm just going to tell you one of them. In order to burn off one M&M, you have to walk 120 yards. Just so you know.
Wow.
The entire length of a football, including the end zones, right? Is that the 120?
Right,
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
One M&M. the entire
I
length.
looked it up for like how long it would take you to walk off like a thing of French fries from McDonald's.
Oh, you have to walk
It's
to
like
the moon.
a mile and a half.
Yeah, you have to walk to the
It's
moon.
like a mile and a half. So, yeah.
All right. This whole segment is about blood, and so when you donate blood, guess what? It goes to every race, it goes to every creed, it goes to every age group. Mm-hmm. Galen, where's the Bloodmobile today? And thank you, Penn Flooring and Palm Garden.
Today is Planet Fitness.
Planet
Fitness. Okay, I need to wrap up with the commercial because otherwise it won't play. So we're going to end with the commercial from Palm Garden Environmental Services. Galen, have a great day. Thank you for contributing to this conversation. I don't know that it was a debate. And thank you, Lenny, and thank you, Mark. We'll be right back. Have a great day, Galen.
Yeah,
Palm
thanks,
Garden
Lenny.
housekeepers
Thank you,
use brooms and mops, and they clean quickly from bottom to top. They clean and they polish and they do the spit shine. Palm Garden will gleam and smell good all the time. They smile and they wink without even a fuss. They scrub the old toilet and vacuum and dust. So this week, as you travel, a referral for me will be folks who are sick and need rehab, you see. Corners are spotless, dust bunnies they seek, so happy Environmental Services Week.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Donald Trump laying out his plan for affordable child care. One proposal, a tax-free savings